be the role of the woman and slash, so many different things. And I try to maybe reach out to these points while we were talking. We'll see what it is. It's a very complicated topic, role of the Jewish woman. And maybe it's just an introduction and we'll get you going, get you thinking, and so on and so forth. So the problem of what we're talking about, the stature or the place of a woman in society is really a top-of-the-line problem, humanistic problem that we faced in our times. And when we say humanistic, it really means in the broad scheme of things, it's really a problem. And we use the word humanistic in terms of human in Hebrew, and we'll see maybe why. So how did they actually, not we, how did they before our time view women? And where is that point of view coming from? What does it stem from? Now, of course, there are going to be many differences between different cultures and different places and so on and so forth. But one thing for sure we could say, that Judaism is a unique phenomena in the world, in world history, in its approach towards women. Believe it or not. And it is very clear from the very beginning, as you really see it in Parashat Bereshit, in Genesis, the first chapter, that we have in Bereshit, we say it right away, and I'm going to say it in Hebrew, then we're going to translate it. It says, Zachar v'nekeva bera'am. He created them, a male and a female. Vayikra et shmam Adam. And he called them men or human. In terms of that, Adam is a man, but Adam in that text, in that meaning, really refers to a human. So, and you're going to tell me, well, what are you saying? And wait and see. So, even though that many people that quote the Torah quote it in the wrong way, it says Vayikra et shmo Adam, but it's not Vayikra et shmo. And he called him man. He called them human. And you're going to tell me, well, this is really, again, okay, and what's so new about it? You should not take it for granted. The fact that Judaism basically says that men and women are the same. I mean, not the same in terms of their biology, but in terms of their place in society is the same. There's no difference between men and women. It's not something you can take for granted. If you're going to look at the biggest culture in the world, of the old world, or maybe the second biggest culture of the old world, which in a way, maybe it's a culture that is in a way, in an empirical way, more important than Judaism. Of course, we're talking about the Greek culture. It's not so clear what we were saying before in terms of Judaism. In the Greek world, it wasn't so for sure, and don't get all angry, that women are really human. As the way we recognize it, we know it. Maybe by Plato. If you're talking about Plato, you would find something like this. But that also itself depends on interpretation of how you interpret Plato in terms of his approach to women. But if we would have to say of somebody that's the greatest figure in the Greek world, right? And if we could say something like this about somebody like that, of course, when you say something like this, it's going to be very subjective. But if we're talking about the greatest figure in the Greek world, of course, we're talking about Aristotle, or as they call it in the other parts of the world, Aristotle. And to him, he sees woman as a blemished creature, not as a complete creature, as a blemished creature that, like it didn't finish, or it's not complete, or, in other words, subhuman. Believe it or not, that's what it is. Now, again, from Judaism, from the beginning, we say Zachar u'nekeva, male and female, created them, vayikra et shmam adam, and he called them human. So, you see the difference right away between the Greek world and the Jewish approach to men and women. And maybe you'll understand now why do we as Jews many times have a problem and we don't really know. Because take it into account that the source that, let's say, the Western philosophy or Western thinking came about, Western science, the one that we deal today. Even when we talk about Western society, social society, in terms of states and so on and so forth, all the concepts and all the ideas of social arrangements, political arrangements, anything like that comes from Greeks, from Greek, and the Greeks were the ones who really set everything in motion. Now, it's very interesting that in Greek, what we call, I don't know, how should I say it in a nice way? Way of thinking, culture, and so on. If you're going to look at the period that came from the time of Homer, which was somewhere about 400 before Christian era, until way after, until like maybe 400, into Common Era, talking about almost 1,000 years of culture, of creation, and so on and so forth. There was no woman who was a part of that culture. There was no woman. You're not going to find her in society. You're not going to find in intellectual life, in political life, nowhere. Women were simply not a part of this life. It was all left to men. You're not going to find them in science. Nowhere women were allowed to do so. I mean, because they were, again, as we say, considered to be not fully fledged human beings. It sounds weird, but the problems that we have today in the West, and believe me, we still have a very long way to go until we're going to reach the level that Judaism already put in place over 3,000 years ago. When we came out of Egypt, 3,000, almost 400 years ago, when we wrote the Torah, when the Torah was given to us, and the way Judaism started, and even before that, we look at the patriarchs, at Sarah, at Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and then you look at the mothers. We never refer only to the patriarchs, and we call it like, the founding fathers of the United States. By the way, there's no woman in the founding fathers of the United States. There's no mothers. There's only mamas and the papas later on in California. But you don't find them in American history. But Judaism, what is Avraham without Sarah? What is Yitzchak without Rivka? What is Yaakov without Rachel and Leah? They were equal partners. We have the Avot and we have the Imahot, and they go together. They go together. And we're missing the point, and in a way we're doing a sin to ourselves, and we're doing an injustice to the Torah and to Judaism altogether. Women were not allowed in Greek and Western society that came as a result of the Greek culture, as we said before. Women were not allowed to enter. They simply weren't allowed to enter. I mean, even in the United States, you had the witches of Salem, where in Massachusetts, whatever it was over there, that they were, they were considered to be witches. They would be burned on a stake. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, in a way, women were not in existence. They were unrecognized. They weren't allowed. So, and that was a natural state of being that was common, that was natural, And that was the opinion by most people around. Nobody even dared to challenge it, including women. And if you could see, I'm trying to point out something that maybe we'll get to in the future in terms of that. But regarding the position of women in society, it really shows a tremendous lack of understanding, tremendous lack of pushing, encouraging women to become really what they should become. I think most of the time it comes of a complete ignorance and understanding in terms of, now I'm talking about Jews, as what Judaism has to say about the role of women in society. So you might have some people who play games on certain verses, and they take this pasuk from here, they take parts of verse, and they make all kind of words and so on and so forth, and they would show you that women are not as, whatever you want to say it, smart and so on and so forth. But again, that's, I think, shows lack of confidence in who you are and what you are, and a complete ignorance of what the point of Judaism regarding women altogether. And unfortunately, modern society, with all its great achievements and so on and so forth, did not really, and until today, did not really sought to understand that women are equal. I mean, if you're going to go to a job, and you probably know it better than me, if you're going to go to a job, and I want to go to a job, and let's say we have the same skill sets, automatically I would be offered more money than you. Automatically. And it doesn't mean that I can do the job better than you. But that's how it is. And we all, us today also, we okay with it. In a way we can. Nobody's doing anything, nobody's, waving flags and, and other stuff like that, We're okay with it. But that's not a Jewish point of view. And if somebody tells you that that's how Judaism views that, he's ignorant. He doesn't know what it is. Now, that kind of an approach is also very dangerous to us as Jews, because it brings Judaism into a certain level of darkness that you will find in fundamentalist regimes somewhere in, I don't know where. You know what I'm saying? Like Iran and places like that women are, or we have to put burqas on and so on and so on. Women are more of an object than a legitimate part of society, just like men. And some people are okay with it. And I really do believe, again, I really do believe that it comes out of pure ignorance and lack of self-esteem. They don't have confidence. It's as simple as that. Don't have confidence. In Kabbalah, the assumption in Kabbalah is that women were never, ever on a lower level than men. That's why we don't need to make all kind of like, revolutions and all kind of like corrections and make everybody equal and all kind of affirmative actions for women and so on and so forth. On the contrary, many times the Kabbalah views women as superior to men. The Torah, Judaism, for example, exempts women from most of the mitzvot that a man is obligated to do. You don't have to do it. Now, if, for example, let's say you go to college, right, and they review your grades and so on and so forth, and then they tell you, oh, it's okay, you don't have to take this class. It's already covered. It means that you are on a higher level in terms of your academic achievements than somebody else is coming, a freshman is coming. You don't have to take that. You already took it in high school, whatever it is. So Judaism says women don't have to do most of the mitzvot that a man is obligated. And because of that, the reason is because it considers women to be as a superior being, and it's really because women by nature are more spiritual, they're more gentle, And in any case, as a result of that, don't need what we call mitzvot aseh. Mitzvot aseh is our commandments in which are associated with an action. Because we know that a man needs to do, although actually the mitzvot are vehicles for us to go up higher and higher in terms of our spirituality. But women got exempt because they don't need it. Men by nature is more aggressive, more powerful, and so on and so forth. So therefore he needs to learn to refine himself to become more gentle. As the Ashkenazim says, more edel, more refined. So you sit down and you have to do all these things to really refine and conquer this, brute force inside of you. Women are already born with that. Women are much more spiritual than men. I mean, I'll give you an example. I call my mother every day. My mother lives alone in Israel. I call my mother every day. And don't worry, she's not going to watch this, so it's fine. But I cannot hide anything from my mother. Because she tells right away from my voice. I say, and sometimes, I just, I don't mood, not feeling good, or annoyed, or upset, or, whatever it is. And she says to me, I said to her, "Hi, Ima, how are you? Ma shlomech?" And she told me, "What's the matter?" I said, "Nothing's the matter." "No, something is the matter. I can tell by your voice." I said, "No, nothing." So, I'm not going to start lying. So I said, "Don't worry, I got allergies. So this allergies going to give me a break from anything." But she knows right away. And she says to me, today, she says to me, "Are you sure it's just allergies?" Women know that they have that sense. A mother knows that. Father, I used to speak, before my father died, I speak to my father, everything sounds okay, it's fine, But women have that, they're more refined. When you're more refined, you can actually feel small changes in, not only in the person, in everything around you. One of the reasons that we are including women as a major part of mitzvot aseh, certain mitzvot aseh, mitzvot that are associated with an action like Purim, Hanukkah, Pesach, it's all because they are the ones who initiated, they took the initiative and they initiated the change that men went and they fought and they did what they did. But who was the one who really initiated the whole concept? Was women. Since they were, in a way, responsible for that redemption, so therefore they are their presence is required for this event. It's like you won a medal in a battlefield, so you're coming to the ceremony. Basically something of that sort. So women can feel those changes. We don't know. We plan for battle. We do all those things and we go to battle, but women are the ones who basically have the how should I say it, have the strings of the marionette that most of us are, as in terms of men. So, and that's the way the Kabbalah looks at it. The Kabbalah says that women have extra binah. Binah means intellect, ability to understand. Lehavin is to understand. Lenashim, women have binah yetera. Men has it also, but women have another portion, binah yetera. Now we know if we're going to compare our body to the heavenly structure in terms of the Kabbalah, so we know we have Keter, which is the crown, right, which is the superior of all, and then we have the Chokhmah, and then we have the Binah, and we have the right side and the left side. And women are the binah. The other shoulder is the men. And I don't know, unless you have some kind of problem with your back, they're both equal. And binah comes from the side of the din, of judgment, in terms of, is to know what the din is to know what to do. The women would know what to do. Men need to be told what to do. Right? You agree with me? All right, somebody does. So, and that's what we need to be taught, and we need to learn. It doesn't come to us naturally. In the stage that we were before, right when we received the Torah in Har Sinai, we reached the level, in terms of us, all of us, We reach a level of Adam HaRishon, in Gan Eden, before he sinned. Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, Adam and Eve, they were together, everything was perfect, they knew exactly what they would need to do. So, but since that point, we did the wrong thing, and then we said, okay, now we gotta learn Torah. Women don't. Women still knew what was right and what was wrong. And we need to understand that. I mean, we need, and unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say that, most people don't talk about it. Most people don't talk about it. Most people don't talk about the fact, don't talk about it whether it's rabbis, or sometimes rabbis also. Sometimes it's convenient to be just like everybody else. Because guess what? When I'm not giving you this ability, when I'm not recognizing your power and your ability, you don't have to do anything. You just hide in the back. Say, listen, we call it in Israel, Rosh Katan, small head. I don't care. You worry about it. I don't care about it. And it's not true. There is a tremendous responsibility. And I'm going to tell you the following. The fate of the Jewish nation, is all dependent on what women would do. Not what men would do. What women would do. I'll be the first one to tell you that. I'll give you an example. When I said to my wife at the time, I said, listen, I just can't take this, I want to go back to college, I want to sit down and learn. And my wife said to me, this is what you want to do? I said, yeah. She said, go ahead and do it. Yeah. Immediately I said to her, well, how are we going to pay the mortgage? I said, don't worry about it. You just do what you need to do. Don't worry about it. And I went to Kollel. And I have Talmidim, I have students, and I have guys, and I'm teaching them Torah. And I see the change in the guys that we're teaching. I mean, really from day to day, and how they grow throughout those years. I've been doing this for over 20 years. And every time I tell the guys, listen, you should not thank me, you should thank my wife. It's not because of me, because if it was up to me, I would not be here, because of my insecurity in terms of my, call it Neanderthal inside of me, that I have to go and bring bread home and, yes, she has more emunah than I do. And women usually have more emunah than men do. In other words, because they understand better. So if it wasn't for my wife doing that, I would not have those guys learn there, every single day for 20 whatever years. And I think we're missing a tremendous opportunity to make a real deep change and resetting to the pattern which we are going, which is completely foreign to us as Jews, even though it makes us a little different. But we were never going to be just like everybody else. We're always going to be different. And we're always going to be reminded of that. But I think we could make a tremendous change in the way we do things in terms of Jewish community. Years ago, when there was a sense of a community, the role of women in the Jewish community was even more enhanced and more noticeable. And maybe we'll get to that later on. But, have this in mind. Just have this in mind. So, and not only that, because women are so refined, you think about it this way. Imagine, or let me ask you a question. Why do you think God chose females to give birth and not men? Most people will tell, because you want to punish us, But that's not the case. I mean, first of all, I don't think any of us will be able to take that. I'll tell you that much. And therefore the world will come to an end, God forbid. But because something else, the ability, the power of creation, the ability to create, to nourish a creature inside of you, to be able to give with no strings attached, the ability to constantly give, it's something that only a mother can do and a father cannot do. And that is not because of the biology, because if God wanted, he can have a broom give birth, but just because of their natural or should I call it natural, should I call it spiritual components that they have. They have simply more tools to nourish life in them. That's why God chose females to give birth and not men. To be able to bring neshamot, to bring all these things. That's why women are more connected to the spiritual world than men are. Now you remember when we spoke about quote-unquote witches, men realize that. So one way to control women is to simply subside, to put down, to quiet this spiritual component in a woman from really flourishing and coming out. One way to do so is to make women like men. So to take a woman and turn her into a aggressive being like a man, it's a bad thing. It's not right. I'm not saying that every woman should be like porcelain, because there's some women who are tough, but that's okay, but not as a system. You see it very many times in Israel. Israeli women are extremely militant. I mean, with the guns and this whole thing. But yes, somewhere along the line, they still become very, but many Israeli men cannot deal with such strong women. They just can't deal with it. So, if you want to destroy a woman, turn her into a man. And I'm not talking about sex operation. I'm talking about act like a man, lose her biggest gift, and that is the spiritual connection to whatever the Torah gave us, or whatever God gave us. And that is something that connection is something that a man could never experience, because women have that extra binayetera, this extra component that increases the sensitivity. She has more of a sensitive radar to the spiritual world. That's why a woman can understand better than a man. I met many psychologists and psychiatrists in my life and so on and so forth, but I really see a big difference between an approach between men and women. It's sometimes a man just become too analytical and there's no emotion behind it. And I'm not saying women are emotional, but in terms of understanding what's, not only what is said, but also what is not said, I think women do a better job. I think, for example, women make better doctors than men. Many people would disagree with me, but I think women make better doctors than men. That's besides the fact. I don't think women, I just don't understand how a man can become, for example, an OBGYN. I think it's beyond me. And I don't think women should go to male OBGYNs, should go to female OBGYNs. But that's besides it's a different argument, a different discussion altogether. So now Judaism says again that there's no room and no place for movement of equal rights and so on and so forth in terms of culture, because Judaism understands that there is different jobs or different duties to do in order to get the job done. We are I hate to use the term Holy Trinity, but there is a man, he has a job, there is a woman that has a job, and they have another partner, God, that has a job as well. So if I'm going to do my wife's job, who's going to do my job? There is a certain order to do. What the Egyptians tried to do in Egypt was just that. What we call avodat parech, slave labor, in Hebrew, it sounds much better, it carries a different meaning. Avodat parech, pei resh chaf means lifroch. Lifroch means to crumble. What kind of job is to crumble? So the Medrash tells us that they used to give the men the women's job and the women the men's job. So fine, so I understand. A woman, you give her cinder blocks to carry on the back all day long. It just doesn't have the muscle structure to do that, or the ability to do so. So fine, I understand. She falls under full, she has to swing, 5-pound jackhammers all day long. I understand, fine. But what's so difficult if a man is giving a woman's job? You change the duties, it crumbles who you are in terms of essence. So that's a problem. And it does not mean, by all means, I don't try to portray or to say by all means that women so-called belong in the kitchen among the pots. Absolutely not. My wife is a professional, and let her stay like that. And when my wife was a professional, I'm very proud of her achievements. And if I had to cook, I cooked, and if I had to take care of the kids, I took care of the kids, and I had to do laundry, I did the laundry, because we had a job to do, and our job was to have a Jewish home, and it didn't make a difference who does it, because we had a bigger job to do, and that was bringing God into our homes. So what is woman's role in terms of how the Judaism sees it? Because she is, giving all these gifts, her job is really to educate the next generation and to really make sure that there's going to be a continuation of spiritual growth and spiritual component in what we call a Jewish home. Otherwise, what is really considered to be a Jewish home? The Zohar says the following: Shma b'ni mosar avicha ve'al titosh Torah imecha. Right? Listen to what your father tells you, but never abandon what your mother teaches you. The Torah of your mother. The Torah of your mother? What does it mean, the Torah of your mother? Torah, why is it called Torah? Torah milshon hora'ah, to teach. So listen to what your father tells you, but don't abandon what your mother teaches you. And what is that your mother teaches you? She teaches you values, virtues in which you learn at home, and what's important and how to behave. And that's what your mother gives you. Your father tells you, do this, don't do that, go cut the lawn, take the garbage out, and so on and so forth. Your mother tells you what's right and what's wrong. Your father tells you what to do and not to do. Your mother tells you what's right and what's wrong. So don't forget what your mother teaches you. Don't abandon what your mother teaches you. So, and that's why women are naturally more patient than men, because in order to be a teacher, you need to have patience. And that's why God gave them that ability. And it's not enough to the Zohar just said that. The Zohar says something else. The Zohar says, Okiru l'nashaychu ki achet titra'u. In other words, the Zohar tells the men the following. That the man has an obligation to treat his wife with an appropriate amount of respect. And the Shulchan Aruch says, what does it mean? He must love her and respect her more than he does himself. And the question is, of course, why is that? The reason is because his mazal, his luck, his financial abilities, his bracha, comes from his wife. She's the one who brings the bracha down home. And how is that? Because she's the one who determines what character the house will be. What would go inside the house depends on the woman, not on the husband. A woman, a married woman, we used to use it as a title, in a way as a badge of honor. Today it's being used as a derogatory term. You ask a woman, why are you? I'm a housewife, right? I'm a housewife. I mean, what's like, in Hebrew it's used a totally different term. We call a housewife, how do we call a housewife? Akeret habayit. Akeret habayit means akeret milshon ikar. She is the central column of the house. And it was very hard for me to understand what does it mean until one time, I was, 15, 16 years old. I used to go on Friday mornings, I used to go to the Tel Aviv Museum. School was finished early. Sometimes I used to come home early from the Air Force Academy. So, I used to like to go to museums. And then one day, it just like hit me. There's a special building in Israel that, I passed a million times, it never hit me. It's called the IBM building. What's so special about this building? The building goes like this, right? It's this, skyscraper. However, the whole entire building is on the center column. And it's very weird because it looks like a funnel, but it's on the central column. And I all of a sudden I understood. I said, you remove the column, you remove the whole entire gorgeous building. I mean, it's a beautiful building, but it's all in one central column. The woman is akeret habayit, she's the ikar of the bayit. You remove her, you remove the whole entire house. And we need to come to terms with that. how important this job is. It's a tremendous job, it's a tremendous responsibility, and yet together with that, Judaism does not take it lightly. She calls a woman the centerpiece of the house. She determines how the house is going to be there, and she understands what God wants, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that every Jewish house will have a Jewish identity. And that Jewish identity doesn't mean just like going to shul and putting tefillin on, in all aspects of Jewish identity. Everything. And by the way, not only on Shabbat, not only in terms of the food that she cooks, and she's in charge, because we know that the fuel for the spirit is the cook, is the food that you eat. We know that certain foods, especially, are you cold by the way? A little cold? Okay.
I raised it to 73.
No, so I'll put this one right there. Yeah, this one. Oh, it'll be nice and warm. So we know that according to Kabbalah, certain foods carry certain spiritual attributes to them. If you eat certain foods, it's going to affect your neshama. And you're not going to be able to process things spiritually. That's why certain foods we can eat. Okay? So the woman, the wife, the mother, is the one who is in charge of the food in the house. She needs to make sure the food is kosher and everything is checked and everything is made like this and so on and so forth. And she develops the connection on a different level. I mean, if you buy challah from the store, and I'm sorry if anybody buys challah, but if you buy challah from the store, right, it might be good challah. I mean, I went to my son's, and he lives in New Jersey. I went to this place. There is a French, kosher French bakery. They make like tremendous bread. They made sourdough bread. And I can tell you the following, honestly, it doesn't taste half as good as your bread. And that's a big compliment, let me tell you that. Because when the mother makes the bread, she puts something of herself in it. Something of herself goes inside. When I'm making food for somebody in the store, I don't have any connection, to this person. My interest is to sell it, it's just, dinero. I want money in my pocket. I don't care about what happens to the person. But the mother puts something in it. That's why mama's food always tastes different than somebody else's food. And you know that food has to do with the way you feel, because if you try to make dough when you're feeling miserable or you're upset, it's not going to come out. I mean, what are you talking about? This dough. But that's the truth. That's why I can cook fantastic. I really do. I love cooking because it lets me play with knives. So I like cooking. However, I'll tell you the following. I cannot bake for my life. I don't know, it just doesn't come out. My wife comes in, she comes in, she whips up this bread. It's like amazing. I can just eat that bread. I don't need anything else. I'll try to make something. It's like shoes. I don't like I baked a shoe. I don't know. And believe me, I love cooking. I cook almost every day. I love cooking. I'll kind of cook, food, Japanese food, Chinese food, Western food, whatever you want. Just let me cook. That's fine. I don't mind. It's another way of creation. But baking, I cannot do that. Sometimes I used to cook based on the music I used to put. So you see the effect, the spiritual effect when you put into food. The mother connects to the children at a different level because she puts herself in the food. A part of neshama, a part of whatever she does goes into the food. That's why there is a connection with mama all the time. Mama soup, It's different. And it's important. So the role of a woman, a Jewish woman, is tremendous. However, that attitude of what goes on in the house, it's not just on Shabbat, it's throughout the whole entire week. Is what are you going to allow? Why is it going to become acceptable in the house throughout the week? It's not just on Shabbat. So therefore, the role of a woman is to basically be the white blood cells that really fights and stands guard against any kind of intrusion or infection that comes out from the outside to poison what we call the body of our house. If the wife doesn't want to be at home, there's not going to be a TV at home. If the wife wants to be at home, the husband doesn't want to, that's nothing going to happen. Whatever she wants will happen. And we need to understand that that's the job. So sometimes it's very easy, like I say, it's not up to me, I don't know, he does whatever he wants and so on and so forth. But that's not it. God forbid, if there was our blood cells like this, we'll be in problem. We have a big problem. You are the ones who make sure, yes, we have the red blood cells and we have the white blood cells, and they're both important. But the red blood cells don't fight intruders, just the white ones do. And it's your job. And only a woman can do so, because you need to be clever to fight an enemy. Sometimes greater, you need to be very clever. You need to create antibodies, and we all became experts in stuff like this, lately. But that's what it is. It's a tremendous important job. And everything else in the house. We were talking about that Shabbat will be appropriate Shabbat. In other words, that should be on the table. Whatever you decide that it's appropriate. You tell your husband, honey, listen, say a Dvar Torah. Well, one second, you don't know, so come to Rabbi Gaon and go every day and learn something. Encourage the kids to say something. Maybe I hate singing. I'm not a singer. I hate singing. I don't sing Shabbat songs. But other things. If my wife will tell me to sing, I'll sing. I just don't like singing. I like to listen to music. I don't like to sing. But she's the boss. As simple as that. I don't fool myself for a moment. She's the boss. Whatever she wants me to do, I'll do. It's not that I don't have a backbone, but I understand that her job is more important than mine. She can do it without me. I cannot do it without her. That's why when God forbid, a woman passes away, the husband has to get married immediately, because he's going to simply destroy himself and the house. We need that figure in the house. We need the woman in the house. Without a woman, a man is nothing. The Zohar tells us that a woman comes to this world for one reason only, to fix her husband, because without a husband now, the husband is, he needs constant fixing. So he doesn't go to learn. Why don't you want to learn? Go to learn. You have to learn. You have to push him. If the woman tells the husband not to learn, he would not learn. Thank God, I got guys here that are fantastic, and they were so lucky, and they're married, and they're so lucky because the wives help them and pushes them to come to learn. And I got to tell you something. I cannot thank those girls enough, because it's not just helping the husband, helping everybody. And I have cases that it's just the other way around. And you see how fast it goes. It's like simply sliding. It's all what the woman decide, that's what will happen in the house. In order to, if we're talking about, family purity, or we're talking about, kashrut, or we're talking about Shabbat, all these elements that separate the Jewish home, the Jewish individual. If it's the individual, it's separated by the kashrut. It's the family, it's separated by the Taharat HaMishpacha. And Shabbat, it separates the nation from the rest of the people. That, keeping the Jewish identity, that's why keeping the Jewish identity as a nation, it only can be done by women, because they control all those things. When she puts this tahara, this holiness, this sensation of holiness, and the attitude towards Torah and doing chesed and so on and so forth, she's basically making an investment for the future, not only for herself and her husband and the kids, but also to generations that weren't here, or people that she's never even going to meet. Because it's contagious. It comes out, and one thing leads to the other. Issues, she's going to be the one who's going to be the initiator of concept of what we call shalom, ahava, ve'achva. Love, harmony, and friendship in the family. And if it's not, something is missing there. Most of the time, and if the husband is acting, whichever way, not like we spoke before, it's, as I said to you before, it's basically because he didn't learn. If a person would learn, and that's why man needs to learn how to treat, there's a Shulchan Aruch, there's a halacha, how a man should treat his wife. Because a man needs to learn how to do so. So if a man does not learn, how do you expect him to act like a Ben Torah? He needs to learn how to do so. And therefore the best investment that you have, you send your husband, you send your sons to learn Torah as much as they can. Skip the restaurants. Anyway, you can go out. Thank God that I shouldn't say thank God, but let's take advantage of the fact that there is, that the governor and mayor went a little berserk, and now you can go out to eat. So take advantage of it. Don't sit home and be miserable. There's nowhere to go. Terrific. No weddings to go. Even better. Let's go. Let's go. Where do we go? I'm going to take care of the girls. You take care of the boys. You go to yeshiva to learn. Learn a little bit. You need that spiritual food as well. And from everything that we said so far, there's a tremendous, I think, as far as I'm concerned, a clear picture of what a Jewish woman and how important the Jewish woman is. And again, she's the one who's going to put the true Jewish atmosphere in the house. Needless to say that the faith of the child is based on the mother, not on the father. The father could be Jewish, the mother cannot. Let's say she's so the child will be a non-Jew. If the mother is Jewish, the kid will be Jewish. And why is that? Because she's in charge of all those things. She will bring it about. And you need to come to terms with that. You have a tremendous job. You have an important job. You have all the skills to be successful in the job. And you got to put it into work. If you want to talk about it further, it's fine, not a problem. For example, why do women have to light candles before Shabbat? What a Jewish woman accepts Shabbat before it's even Shabbat? Because she has the ability to do so. Yes, we know about lighting candles, it's going to come to this, it's going to come to that. But there's something more than just the halakha. In the world of halakha, is fine, it belongs to the world that we need to know what to do and so on and so forth. But a woman is able to do so. That's why she's accepting Shabbat before. And she brings the Kedusha to the house. When she lights the candles on Shabbat, that's when she is accepting the Shabbat. For her, when she lights the candles, is Shabbat. 18 minutes before sunset, it's Shabbat. So she brought the Shabbat into the house before everybody is capable to do so. I need to still daven mincha, I need to say lecha dodi, and this whole entire thing. For the wife, it's already Shabbat. Her kedusha is greater. There are reasons for all these things. Because of that, when she brings the candles, she lights the candles, she brings light to the house. The light is not just the extra light of turning on the lights. It's light of holiness that she brings into the house. She's in charge of that. That's why a man is not allowed to steal. That's bracha from her. That's why when the husband on Friday sings, why does the husband sing to his wife, Eshet Chayil Mi'imtza? Well, I'm going to tell you this. In Eshet Chayil Mi'imtza, when we sing Eshet Chayil, there are 22 psukim, 22 verses for the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. In Shamayim, in heavens, there are 22 vessels of abundance that come down and pour to this world. And in those vessels are connected to Mekor HaBracha, the source of all blessings. These are the heavenly channels of abundance. Every verse that the husband sings to his wife, and Eshet Chayil, corresponds to another channel of abundance that comes down. A husband sings to his wife, in a way he praises her. He praises her because his abundance, his livelihood comes because of his wife. And in every verse you see there of how a Jewish woman should be. Rachok mipnini micha. A true Jewish woman, not a true in terms of she was born to a Jewish mother or she came Shabbat. I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about in terms of attitude. It does not really care about pearls that are being pulled out of the deeps of the ocean. But really the pearls she would pull down from the deeps of her neshama, from her soul in. Not to look at materialistic things. To be loyal, to bring Kedusha to the house. Each verse, if you sit down and you analyze it like this, you understand where the bracha comes out. It's not, the bracha is not how much you have in terms of material possessions, but rather how much blessing there is in your doing. And who is in charge of the blessing? The husband. He brings the kli, And the wife brings the bracha inside. She brings the blessing in, the husband makes the vessel, the woman fills it up. That's the way it is. So the husband needs to sing this to his wife, to praise her for giving the bracha. If you have, God forbid, a bad woman, don't think your kids are going to turn into angels. If, God forbid, the person doesn't have, he's poor, but his wife never complains, and she teaches the kid, there's a tremendous thing, look at this, the kids will be happy, everybody will be happy. I told the guys this morning, I know about a family, I think like 8 kids, 9 kids, really everything they have to eat every single day is spaghetti and sauce, not meatballs, spaghetti and sauce. Hey, you could see these people, unbelievable, unbelievable. They're always happy, nothing is, they never complain. You try to help them, no, we don't need help, we're fine, everything is fine. On Shabbat, they barely eat a chicken. Take a chicken, divide it into like 10 people, good luck. They don't see a problem with this, it's fine, they're happy. All the kids, everyone, married, perfect, B'nai Torah and B'not Torah, yeah I know, just 5 minutes. Everybody's perfect. And they're happy, and they're good, and other people, they have, and we have so much. And the reason why we have also a desire to have so much physical is because we feel spiritual emptiness inside. What's the more important at the end of the day? What do we care about? That we have a spouse that loves us and we love them, that we care about one another, that the children are behaving, that the children are happy, and everybody is healthy. And that's the bottom line. Houses, cars, some things that could be taken away from you, and they don't mean anything. They're just things. Well, what's more important? And that's something that we need to understand. Unfortunately, there are many Jews, for this reason or another one, lost their track. And they're far away from Judaism. And we need to be able to bring them back. We need to be able to bring them back. Because this is the last call, as they say, the last call for alcohol, The train is about to leave the track. And once the train is gone, you're not going to make it. So we need to make sure that to our brothers and sisters, they have the ticket to go on the train. Even though it's in the back of the train, who cares? Be on the train. Hold on to the door. But just, let's get them in. And how are we going to do that? If you're going to look, men fight. This rabbi took these people from this shul, this one is fighting with this one, the other one. I think it's time for women to step in. And I think that and I would challenge you all guys to do, I tell you what they do in my neighborhood, for example, when everybody was young and the kids were young and we were young, we all got old, and sometimes I look at my neighbor and say, oh my goodness, they got old, and I wonder how do I look. But every time somebody had a kid, everybody from the block, they made sure that we had meals every single day of the week. I didn't have to do anything. I said, I'm capable of doing it. I said, no. This is our job. Everyone, they took turns. Every family made us meal a different day, and on Shabbat, I had more food than I usually make. Everybody was making me food. And then there's other things that you need your neighbor's help. If somebody's sick, everybody, they spread the things right away, the names right away. They do Bikur Cholim, they're visiting sick people in the neighborhood. They help if somebody needs something. And now, thank God, all the little kids are already grown, and everybody's getting married, and so on and so forth. In my block, every time somebody gets married, we do Sheva Brachot. Besides now that there's Corona and we can't do that, but everybody would, we'll get together and we'll sponsor for somebody on the block, a Sheva Brachot for the kid of the block that got married. And usually we'll go to this particular house because they have a big house and that was perfectly fine. And the greatest people, wonderful host. And everybody will bring, this one will buy the drinks, and this one will make the dessert, and this woman will make this. And it was all the women. If you leave it for the men, nothing will happen. It's all because of the women. And I think it's time for you guys to do so. Don't say, okay, I only daven in this shul, so I don't care about what happened in another shul. There has to be a community-wide approach for all women to get together and to do what women know how to do, and just simply lift the spirituality of this neighborhood up. Otherwise, there's no point of being here. Just move out because it's going to go down the tubes. There's no Bikur Cholim. There's no Achnasat Kala. Listen, you think everybody has money? Do Achnasat Kala. Do some Gemilut Chasadim. Do some women activity. Women, and now I'm pointing the fingers at you. You allowed this to happen. You don't demand that the shuls would treat you as equal. They always say classes for men, which they never show up. But how about you? Why did I have to call you to tell you that I want to make a shul for women? Why you don't demand classes for women? You should bring those tremendous women speakers, tremendous, very inspirational, in a way that only women can speak. You should bring them in. Not only every Rosh Chodesh, do it every other week, not every day. That's too much. Every other week, once a week, do a class for women. Not just Hafrashat Chala and it becomes a party. Something that would bring you, that's important also. But something is going to also dedicate it to your own personal and spiritual growth. How are you supposed to know how to, keep things okay in terms of kashrut if you were never given the proper training? It's all about, figuring it out and doing by just guessing like that. Why are you allowing this? Why women allow themselves to be pushed to the corner? I don't understand that. And why am I telling you that? Because I'm selfish. Because my destiny is in your hands. All of our destiny is in your hands. And you need to understand that. And start, saying, we're important. We want shiurim also. And the shul should sponsor it. Every shul, make it one time in this one time in the other one. Why, for example, you can't arrange yourself some drinks and Coke and, I don't know, whatever it is that you guys like to drink or eat? Why only for men? If somebody will tell you women are not important, tell them maybe you should go back and do some review what the Torah approach is about women. Again, send them to the first parak in Bereshit. Maybe you should learn a little bit. That's not acceptable to me. And I really wanted to tell you everything I told you just to be able to tell you that. You gotta wake up. If you find yourself in a corner, I'm gonna tell you this straight up. It's because you allowed it. Bring yourself to the spotlight. Demand what you know it's right for you to demand. Because in other places they do it. Women are very active. Any community, if you want to move to a community, how are you going to determine what's a good community or not? See how active the women are. If there is an active women body, you know it's a good community. If it's not, don't bother. Don't bother. Look at Satmar, they have the women's Bikur Cholim. For crying out loud, they go everywhere. Women do it. And why can't you? Are you less capable? I don't think so. You busy? Good. So if you're already busy, so a little bit more busy. It's not going to make any difference. You have to do it. You have to do so. And the reason why you have to do it is because that's what our mothers did. In terms of Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, they were equal partners to our founding fathers, to our patriarchs. They were equal partners. Again, without Sarah, Abraham could not have done his Achnasat Orchim. Yitzchak would not become Yitzchak. And we need to remember that. And I just hope that it's going to be a beginning of women's activity brought into the spotlight for you to do what we all need to have. And we need to have you more active. If we're going to talk about the next redemption, well, I'll tell you that, it all depends on you. We're just a tool. The brains, the one who holds the strings of the marionette, are you, not us. You tell us, we'll do it. I don't want to stay here for too long. I want to go home. We want to put an end to this thing so we could all, and we should stop losing people. And there will be a tremendous thing. There are plenty of people that are absolutely not affiliated Reach out to the wives, reach out to the women, the husband will come. Send your husbands to learn, even if it's once a week. Make sure your husbands come to learn. I'm going to tell you something else also. Now that I'm saying it, I know I'm not going to be popular in some shuls, but I don't really care. I think the woman should put pressure on the appropriate people, rabbis and presidents of shuls and so on and so forth, to stop the concept of kiddush after tefillah, after davening. I think it's bad. A husband should not come from shul when he's drunk or smells like alcohol. Should pray, come home. You want to learn? Learn afterwards. Learn afterwards. If your let's say your husband does something that makes kiddush for other people that otherwise not do, it's okay, I hear you. But to come to have parties, so you could step and say, listen, Rabbi, you better stop doing that. We don't want it. Make sure you are the rabbi of the shul. Stop having kiddush in shul. And we want the husband home. Immediately after tefillah, come home. He needs to make kiddush. He needs to sanctify the day. I did my part. The table is set. I need my husband now. I don't need my husband to come an hour after davening to make kiddush at home. Because ultimately it breaks down the structure of my family. Because then I can't get my son interested in eating. I cannot interested in my daughter in sitting down together and eat. You are breaking my family by making this kiddush. Ask those rabbis to stop. And that's something that is also a problem. Send your husband to learn. Send your sons to learn. Encourage them to learn. And you're going to ask me how to do so? You don't need me to tell you. You have better understanding of how your family is and how to make them do exactly what you want to do. As much as you're able to convince your husband to take you to Cancun or Punta Cana, you can convince your husband to come and learn. It's for your best interest. It's for everybody's best interest. And it's all in your hands. So I do expect great things from you, ladies. And as I said to you before, I have great hopes, and I really hope you're going to do something about it. So until next time, and by the way, if you have any questions, Mazal has my number. You can take my number from her. You can ask me whatever you want. I'm perfectly fine. I'm here to try to help you make this happen. If you need help and ideas or something you want to run by me, not a problem. You don't need me. You can do it yourself, probably even better without me. But if you have an halachic question, you have an halachic opinion, feel free to call me. I'm here to serve you. Until then, have a wonderful weekend, whatever it is, and get going. Right? Questions? Anybody's questions? Good. I need to do David RV now. All right. How's everybody doing? All right. Send regards to your husband. Send regards to David also. All right. Michael is doing terrific. Sam is super, but Michael is doing unbelievable.